Football, a sport that has captured the hearts and minds of millions across the globe. The very word evokes a rush of emotions, a surge of adrenaline, and a sense of belonging. The roar of the crowd, the thrill of the goal, the shared passion of millions around the world. It's a symphony of human spirit and athletic prowess. It's a sport that transcends borders, languages, and cultures. A universal language spoken through the rhythm of the ball and the cheers of the fans. A simple game, yet capable of inspiring such extraordinary displays of skill, athleticism, and raw emotion. Every match is a story, every goal a moment of magic. But beneath this veneer of beauty lies a dark secret, a sinister underbelly that threatens to tarnish the very soul of the game. Match fixing. This hidden menace lurks in the shadows, waiting to strike. This insidious plague, driven by greed and corruption, seeks to manipulate the beautiful game for profit, turning players into pawns and fans into victims. It preys on the vulnerabilities of those involved, exploiting their dreams and ambitions. The gravity of this issue cannot be overstated. It undermines the very foundation of the sport, casting a shadow over every match, every goal, every cheer. Match fixing strikes at the very heart of what makes football so special: its integrity, its unpredictability, its capacity to unite and inspire. It robs the game of its essence, leaving behind a hollow shell. When the outcome of a match is predetermined, the soul of the game is wounded, and the trust between fans, players, and the sport itself is shattered. The joy of victory and the agony of defeat lose their meaning. This is the story of match fixing in football, its history, its insidious methods, its devastating impact, and the ongoing fight to eradicate it from the beautiful game. It's a battle for the soul of football, a fight to preserve its purity and passion for future generations. Match fixing isn't a new phenomenon. It has been a shadow lurking over the sport for as long as the game has been played. Its roots are unfortunately deeply entwined with the history of the sport itself. From the very beginning, as football began to capture the hearts of fans around the world, the darker elements of human nature found their way into the game. As early as the late 19th century, as football gained popularity and betting markets emerged, so too did the temptation to manipulate matches for financial gain. The allure of easy money proved too strong for some, leading to the first whispers of corruption. One of the earliest recorded scandals occurred in 1915 in the midst of World War I. The war had already cast a pall over everyday life, and football was no exception. The sport, meant to be a source of joy and distraction, became tainted by deceit. The infamous Good Friday match in England saw Manchester United narrowly avoid relegation after a suspiciously one-sided victory against Liverpool. The match, which should have been a fair contest, was marred by allegations of foul play. Accusations of match-fixing flew, with evidence emerging of players betting against their own team. The betrayal by those who were supposed to uphold the spirit of the game was a bitter pill for fans to swallow. This scandal sent shockwaves through the football world, exposing the vulnerability of the sport to corruption and greed. Fans, who had placed their trust in the integrity of the game, were left disillusioned. It served as a stark warning, a reminder that even the most beloved of games was not immune to the dark side of human nature. The purity of competition was at risk, and the need for vigilance became apparent. The 1915 scandal was a harbinger of things to come. It was a clear indication that as long as there were stakes, there would be those willing to compromise the integrity of the game for personal gain. As football grew into a global phenomenon, so too did the opportunities for match fixing. The sport's expansion brought with it new markets, new fans, and unfortunately, new avenues for corruption. Over the decades, numerous scandals have rocked the sport, from local leagues to international tournaments, highlighting the pervasive nature of this threat. Each scandal brought with it a renewed call for reform and stricter oversight. The fight to preserve the integrity of football had begun, a battle against greed and corruption that continues to this day. Efforts to combat match fixing have intensified, with organizations and players alike advocating for transparency and fairness. The journey is ongoing, but the commitment to protecting the beautiful game remains steadfast.
Match fixing, at its core, is a form of corruption that undermines the fairness and integrity of sporting competitions. It is a dark shadow that looms over the world of sports, casting doubt on the authenticity of the results and the true talent of the athletes involved. It involves the manipulation of a match's outcome or specific events within the game for illicit financial gain. This manipulation can be subtle or blatant, but its impact is always profound, shaking the very foundation of what sportsmanship stands for. This can take various forms, each more insidious than the last. From players deliberately underperforming to referees making questionable decisions, the methods are as varied as they are deceitful. One common method is bribing players, referees, or officials to influence the outcome of a match. This bribery can be direct, with cash changing hands, or indirect through promises of future rewards or threats of harm. Players might intentionally miss penalties, referees could make biased calls, and officials might overlook blatant fouls, all for the sake of securing a predetermined result. These actions not only affect the outcome of the game, but also erode the trust of fans and other stakeholders in the sport. Another tactic involves betting syndicates, often linked to organized crime, who offer large sums of money to individuals within a team or league. These syndicates operate in the shadows, using their vast resources to manipulate games and maximize their profits. These syndicates then profit handsomely from the manipulated results, exploiting the vast sums of money wagered on football matches globally. The ripple effect of their actions can be felt far and wide, affecting not just the immediate participants, but the entire ecosystem of the sport. Technology has also, unfortunately, become a tool for match fixers. The digital age has brought with it new opportunities for those looking to exploit the system, making it easier to communicate and coordinate their illicit activities. Encrypted messaging apps, burner phones, and online gambling platforms provide a shroud of anonymity, making it harder to track and prosecute those involved. These tools allow match fixers to operate with a level of secrecy that was previously unimaginable, complicating efforts to root out corruption. The methods might be varied and constantly evolving, but the goal remains the same: to exploit the beautiful game for personal profit, leaving a trail of shattered dreams, betrayed fans, and a tarnished sport in its wake. The fight against match fixing is ongoing, requiring vigilance, transparency, and a commitment to preserving the integrity of the sport we all love.
Experts in the field of sports integrity and law enforcement paint a grim picture of match fixing's impact on football. They warn of a growing crisis, fueled by the vast sums of money involved in the sport and the increasingly sophisticated methods employed by criminal networks. Match fixing is no longer a localized problem, warns journalist and sports corruption investigator Declan Hill, author of The Fix Soccer and Organized Crime. It's a global industry, controlled by powerful criminal organizations who exploit the sport's weaknesses for massive profits.
Law enforcement agencies echo these concerns. The global nature of football, combined with the anonymity provided by online betting platforms, makes it incredibly difficult to track and prosecute match fixers, admits a senior Interpol official specializing in sports corruption. We're constantly playing catch-up, trying to stay one step ahead of these sophisticated criminal networks.
The message from those on the front lines is clear. Match fixing is a serious threat to the integrity of football, requiring a coordinated global response to combat its insidious influence.
The history of football is sadly littered with match-fixing scandals that have shocked and dismayed fans worldwide. These scandals serve as stark reminders of the vulnerability of the sport and the very real consequences of corruption. One of the most infamous cases is the 2006 Calciopoli scandal that rocked Italian football. The scandal involved allegations of match-fixing and referee manipulation involving some of Italy's biggest clubs, including Juventus, AC Milan, and Fiorentina. The scandal resulted in point deductions, fines, and relegations, sending shockwaves through Italian football and tarnishing the reputation of Serie A.
In 2013, a match-fixing scandal engulfed Australian football. The investigation revealed a sophisticated network involving players, officials, and a betting syndicate with links to organised crime. The scandal led to lifetime bans for some individuals and cast a shadow over the sport in Australia.
These high-profile scandals, while shocking, represent just the tip of the iceberg. Countless other cases go unreported or undetected, highlighting the pervasive nature of match-fixing and the urgent need for greater transparency and accountability within the sport.